These are Stampin' Up's watercolor pencils. There are actually 2 sets, so this is the larger set. It is a baker's dozen, so a set of 13. And in this one you get Real Red, Calypso Coral, Pumpkin Pie, Daffodil Delight, Old Olive, a generic blue, Fresh Freesia, Melon Mambo, Pecan Pie, Early Espresso, Basic Gray, Basic Black, and Basic White. Okay. So this is the set of pencils. They come sharpened. What I like to do, and I've done it with my other set, is I actually like to store them in an empty stamp case. You can buy the slimline cases and then you can store other things in them other than stamps. So I like to put my pencils in it because I'm a bit of a visual person. So I like to be able to see the colors. So I just slide them out and they fit even when they're brand new. And what you can do is also, if you want, you could put the box in there as well so you have a reference. But it says right on them what the colors are, so you don't ever have to guess. Okay, that's how I like to store them. So the thing with the watercolor pencils is that you can use them to color directly to the paper, or you can use them for various watercolor techniques. So right now Stampin' Up! Has 2 different kinds of black ink that you could purchase. There is the Memento, which is a dye-based ink, and there is Stays On, which is a solvent-based ink. And basically, dye ink is sort of water-based. This is how I keep it straight in my head. Water-based, alcohol-based. For me, I can remember that Stays On is the solvent-based one because it smells like Sharpie markers, and I know that Sharpie markers are permanent. Dye-based is not waterproof. It will mix with water, so watercolor pencils also mix with water. So you don't want to use the 2 of these together. I always use Stays On with my watercolor pencils. So my image is stamped in Stays On onto watercolor paper. So one of the ways you can use your watercolor pencils is by applying some water. So I've just got a water brush here and I've made that wet. And then you can color directly on top of the water and you'll get sort of a very intense color. And it smooths it out in the damp paper. Okay, so you can sort of see that effect there. I'm just going to color the whole thing. If you color directly onto a dry paper, like over here, you'll get a bit more of the texture of the paper coming through for one thing, and it just works like regular pencil crayons or colored pencils, whatever you call them. What you can do though is if you've colored, you can take, I'm actually going to use an older water brush that I have that has a finer point on it because I can't find my fine tip water painter right now. So you can go over it and then smooth it out. So this is on dry paper. I've colored on it and then I can just smooth out the color. I can also go back in here and smooth out this color a little bit more. But you can see how intense the color is here compared to the other side. And then I can do that. The other way that you can do it actually is by just taking your pencil, or sorry, taking your pencil and taking a brush and picking up color from the lead of the pencil and then applying it that way. So this will be the most sort of dilute color that you get. I'm not really focusing on my coloring technique here, if you can tell. I just wanted to show the different ways of doing things. Okay? And I've totally colored outside the lines there, but that's okay. So that's on the watercolor paper. So if we use those techniques on the thick basic white, this time I'll color within the lines. How's that? Ish. That's also the joy of watercolor, right? Because it's not supposed to be totally perfect. This is a very controlled way of doing this, obviously. So again, if I just brush water over top. So when you are working on cardstock, you do want to watch how much water you apply. You don't want to apply too much because it will warp the paper a bit. So you can see the difference here where I'm coloring. Because the water sort of sits on the surface a little bit more, you get a very smooth effect, like so. And then the last way I did it was I colored directly onto the leaf. So you can see it's a bit more smooth compared to the initial coloring on the watercolor paper. And then you smooth it out. Those are 3 of the ways that you can apply color with your watercolor pencil. So picking up the color from the pencil lead, applying the color directly to the image, and then watercoloring or adding water afterwards, adding water first, and then coloring on top. So that's 3 different ways of adding colors. If you order any set of watercolor pencils in the Yam Stamps online store, so yamstamps.com/shop, and use the code NASA984V, NASA984V. I will never get such a good code ever again. If you use that code for the next week and order any watercolor pencils, I'll send you a tutorial using those watercolor pencils. They give you some more behind the scenes tips and tricks, and you might even get a coupon for my watercolor class. You never know. Any questions, give me a shout. info@yamstamps.com. Hope you have a good day.